Bonjour, hi. Welcome back to another coffee talk. For those of you who are not familiar with coffee talks, it's a series I have on this channel where every Friday I sit down with a cup of coffee. I sip on it while I talk about different topics that have been on my mind for the past week, and this week is no exception. I tried a new lip product this morning. It's the Chubby Stick Intense. Oh, it's the Intense. Maybe that's why I didn't like it. Oh well. And it's a lip product that was recommended by Charlotte Cardin on TikTok, and I wanted to try it, and I tried it this morning, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. But obviously, and as always, this is not the topic of today's coffee talk. Today, we are talking about courage. That is right, courage, as broad as it may sound. Bear with me, hang in there. We're gonna get a little bit deeper into it. But yeah, just being courageous and how important it is. I recently saw a conference about courage specifically, and it really resonated with me. The person who was presenting the conference was talking about how we are, as human beings, being courageous on a daily basis without even realizing it. And the idea and the concept of courage is often related to acts of bravery. For example, when I used to think about courage, I would think of firefighters, heroes, like superheroes. I would think about people risking their lives to help others. That to me was what being courageous meant. But as it turns out, courage is way more than that. I'm the kind of person that tends to not necessarily diminish myself, but I want to stay humble, and I don't want to become cocky about anything. I don't like bragging necessarily. And so I never really considered myself to be a courageous person. I never really thought I had courage for doing anything in life, because I feel like everything I've done in life was just like normal and average, so nothing could be considered courageous. But I recently had a conversation with my mother, and she was telling me how proud she was, and it made me feel very good about myself, because obviously having my mother being proud of me is valuable. But it made me realize that some of the things I've accomplished in the past year took courage, and I didn't fully realize it because I was in it, but it's only when I was able to take a step back that I realized that some of those things I did took some sort of courage. It was not necessarily acts of bravery per se, but it was still a form of courage. And we tend to forget that and minimize the things that we've actually accomplished, you know? For instance, I'd say that the biggest risk I've taken in the past year was to go freelance, to just honestly shoot my shot. And that leap of faith, that jump, took some courage. And honestly, I didn't really see it that way because it was just what felt natural to me to do. But I still needed that little boost of courage. It still came from a place of just letting go and committing to my decision and just accepting whatever would happen. And that takes courage. But you know what else takes courage? Saying no, establishing your limits, listening to yourself, and just being frank with yourself and with everybody else. That takes courage to affirm who you are and to fully commit to whatever you're saying or whatever you're doing is a form of courage, honestly, because it can be easy to just adapt and being a yes man and wanting to please others. But it takes so much strength to just be yourself, even if people are judging you or even if people are questioning your decisions, to just stand your ground and be confident with who you are takes a lot of strength and a lot of courage. Personally, this is actually where I need to take that courage and apply it, because I want to please people. And more specifically, professionally, I tend to want to please my clients and Obviously, I want them to be satisfied with my work, but sometimes you just can't say yes for whatever reason, and that takes courage. Being able to say no, or being able to negotiate some deadlines, for example, or to stand your ground again with an idea, it's just so much easy sometimes to fade in the back and just forget about your idea and how much you believed in it just because somebody else said, well, or somebody questioned it, you know? And personally, having somebody question or challenge my ideas and my opinions can feel very confronting. And I feel like, okay, maybe I don't know what I know, or maybe my skills are not as good as I thought. But again, realizing your strengths and your weaknesses and knowing what you're good at and knowing your skills and affirming your knowledge and again standing your ground is important, because in life there are going to be people who will challenge everything that you say or everything that you think or what you bring to the table, and you have to know when to be stubborn, and that takes, you guessed it, courage. And I'm not saying to be close-minded and cocky about it. I'm just saying that it's okay to know your worth and to be proud of your ideas and to be affirmative about them, you know? But on the other hand, it's also important to let people know when you need help, or when you need vacation, or when you're not doing good, or when you don't know something. And that also takes courage, because it puts you in a vulnerable place where you're admitting to people that there are some things that you don't know, there are some things that you can't do, and you need others to perform. And that in itself takes courage, because believe me, the amount of times I wish I had asked for help, but I was too ashamed, I was shy, or I was afraid of looking stupid, well, it came back to bite me in the ass after all, because I didn't have the courage that it takes to let people know that I needed them, that I was not as adequate as I thought. So I think the essence of the message here is that courage is not one thing and one thing only. It can take many forms, whether that's waking up one morning when you're feeling like crap and actually get going, or asking the help of a coworker, or calling your mother because you need comfort, or telling somebody you're not doing well, or brainstorming and coming up with a great idea and really sticking up with it. It's all forms of courage. And we need that. And we need to recognize that and salute it. Is that a word? When you salute something, when you reinforce it, I guess? Or you get what I'm saying, right? And circling back to that conference I was talking about, there was a quote that really stuck with me, and it said something along the lines of, being courageous is running through a forest naked. Hold on. It just said something along the lines of running naked in a forest of cannibals or something like that. It was a pretty intense image. But what it meant was that you're just being naked, you're being your most vulnerable self and just going with it. And whatever happens, happens. And that's courage. And being courageous is not to be mistaken with being reckless, because those are two different things. Being reckless is being fearless. But where there's courage, there is fear and there is apprehension. And being courageous is just that, is knowing and recognizing that there is fear, but it's also going beyond that fear and giving it your all. And with that in mind, it actually means that you can train yourself to be courageous, because courage is not necessarily something you're born with. Yes, there are people that are braver than others, but you could actually train yourself. So whenever you see fear, or whenever you feel fear, or you recognize it, you can ask yourself how to go beyond that fear. You can ask yourself how to get out of your own comfort zone, and you can ask yourself what you could do with this fear. And the possibilities are endless. You get to decide what you do with that feeling and how you want to just live your life, honestly. Wow, that took a turn, but we're here for it. if I could sum it all up, I'd say that the most courageous thing you could do is be yourself. You can train yourself to be courageous and just take that leap of faith and trust yourself. This is probably the most important thing. Out of all this, you gotta trust yourself. So on that note, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me. I truly, truly, truly mean it. Hopefully I have made a little difference in your day today. If you would like to make a difference in mine, you know what to do. And I'm going to wish you bonne journée.